If you'd like to get the extra credit for going through this tutorial, you should take out a blank sheet of paper. So you might want to pause this for a second. Get yourself a blank sheet of paper, and I would like you to write this polynomial at the top. And before we go trying to factor it, let's review a little bit with the terminology. We've got a trinomial. It's got 1, 2, 3 terms. We'd call it a quadratic trinomial because its degree is 2. You are going to be asked to factor it. And factoring means breaking it apart into multiplication. Just like in elementary school, when you were asked to factor the number 15, you'd say, well, it's 5 times 3. Well, I want to know what times what would give me this polynomial right here. And when we multiplied our two binomials and our two-termed ones, we said that we multiply based on the FOIL process, where we do the first terms first, and then the middle one comes from outside and inside combined, and then the 12 comes from the last terms. So we're in search of how we can break this apart to create 3x squared plus 16x minus 12. And I like to call it unfoiling. So let's go see what we've got here. We know that the only way we can lead it is in a 3x and a 1x. That's the only possible way I can get the 3. So there's my first part in my binomials. I know that the only way I can get 3x squared is to do 3x times 1x. Now, I can end it several ways. I could get a 12 out of 3 times 4, out of 2 times 6, and out of 12 times 1. And we have to make the decision of which pair we use. Not only that, we have to decide on the signs of them and the order. So this right here helps me a lot, because we know that if we're going to multiply these last terms at the end here and come up with a negative 12, we know that we must have one of them has to be positive and one of them has to be negative. So that helps me a little bit. The biggest help is this 16 right here, because I know that when I multiplied my outsides, multiplied my insides, and I add them up, so whatever I get on the outside, whatever I get here on the insides, when I add them up, I have to get 16x. I'm in search of which pair of these numbers will allow me to get the 16. I know the 3 and the 1 are going to get me the 3x squared. I know this is 12, 12, 12. But I have to make the decision, and it's that 16 that makes it for me. So in class I said to take out your fingertips and kind of pretend you're doing outside and inside, so that you're multiplying outsides, multiplying insides, and add them up. Unfortunately, you can't see what I'm pointing at up here, sorry about that. So I'm going to have to draw some marks and then erase them. But suppose you're first looking at linking them like this. You'd be looking at a 9 and a 4. There is no way you're getting a 16 out of those numbers. So I know that that's not my winning structure. If I reverse that, I would be getting a 12 and a 3. Again, there's no way I'm getting 16 out of a 12 and a 3. What that tells me is this is not how I'm going to end my problem. I'm going to keep searching. Well, let's try to match it up this way. How about a 6 and a 6? Again, there's no way I'm getting a 16 out of those, so that wouldn't be my winning pair. How about if I reversed it and did 18 and 2? And the bells should be going off right there, and I'd even write them on the arcs. I can certainly get a positive 16 out of 18 and 2 as long as the 2 is negative. And I already know one of them has to be negative because I have to multiply to get this negative 12. So if I can make that negative, I should be good. Well, let's go see how this works. Keep in mind, I have linked the 3 here with the 6. So since my 3 is on the outside, I want to make sure that when I FOIL on this outside, I have that 6 there. And furthermore, it's a positive 6, because I decided that I want to have an 18 and a minus 2 would create that negative 16. Well, what that means is the other part of my pair for my last is a minus 2. Now let's check it out. And if you're taking the notes, you should check this. Let's see if we really got it unfoiled correctly or factored correctly. Let's multiply our first terms. 3 times 1 is 3. X times x is x squared. On the outside, I've created a positive 18x, while on the inside, I've created negative 2 times 1 is negative 2x. And for my last terms, I've got a negative 2 times 6, which is negative 12. And when I clean that up, I end up with 3x squared plus 16x minus 12. I've got that original polynomial back. So I know that this is indeed my right answer, 3x minus 2 times x plus 6. So what I'd like you to do right now is take out that pink worksheet, and I'm going to go over a couple with you. I'm going to start off going over, I think, number 16, where I have a 6a squared plus a minus 15. And this would be number 16 on the back. You can either check yours if you're not that far. You can go ahead and do it with me. So here's our process again. A couple things. We go to the front and we say you can lead in a 3 and a 2 or a 6 and a 1. On the last terms, because this comes from multiplying first, this comes from multiplying last, I could have a 5 and a 3 or a 15 and a 1. I've got to find the pair that when I have one positive and one negative, you might be saying, well, how does she know that? Well, if I multiply two numbers and get a negative, I know one of them's positive and one of them negative. And I need to create this. Well, there's nothing there. That means it's a 1. So my kingpin in this one, my key player, is a positive 1. How can I create that? And I take out my fingers and I start trying to match them up. And I say, well, how about if my outsides were 15 and my insides were 6? Any way to get a 1 out of those? And the answer would be definitely not. So I know that's not my pair. And again, I wouldn't draw those links until you find them when you match. I told you in class just to point at them, but you can't, again, you can't see me pointing. So the next thing I would do is try, well, let's have this be my outside. How about a 9 and a 10? And I would be thinking, okay, I can do that. I can get a 1 out of 9 and 10 as long as 9's the negative 1. And I know I need to have a positive and a negative because I need to multiply to equal minus 15. So now I know exactly how I need to lay this out. And most of you were really good at finding the pairs and linking them up. But now getting all this information into the correct structure is the tricky part. 3a and 2a, that's not an issue for me because I've got that already laid out. These are my firsts. But it's where you put these two numbers over here that you have to be very careful, and it depends on how they're linked. Did you want to create the 15 and the 6 or the 9 and the 10? And the answer was I wanted the 9. So the 3's got to be linked with the negative 3. So let's see, my 3 is on the outside, which means I've got to walk over here and put my minus 3 there, which leaves the 5 for the inside. And again, if I wanted to, which I'm going to on here because it's kind of a tutorial, I could check it firsts. 3 times 2 gives me 6, a times a is 8 squared. Perfect on the firsts. Outside, minus 9a, inside, plus 10a, and lasts, 5 times 3 is 15, and there's 1 plus and 1 minus. Now when I combine these, negative 9 up 10 gives me 1a, or just a. And if I look at what I've got compared to the original polynomial, I know I've done it correctly. So I'll do one more, and then I'll be done. The other one I'd like to do for you is the last one. It is, I guess it's not numbered, it'd be number 18. I left the number off of it. Let's do 25x squared. First thing that pops into my head is 5 and 5, but perhaps that's not it. We'll see. And for the 1, makes it kind of nice. I know I have to end in a minus. I mean a 1 and a 1. Furthermore, because this is a positive, I know that they're either both positive or both negative. This guy tells me everything. Because it's negative, I know I'm going to have 2 negatives. So I actually know I'm ending in a negative 1 and a negative 1. How can I lead it? 5 and 5 comes to mind first. 25 and 1 comes to mind second. Well, this one's kind of staring me in the face. It's right here's my negative 5. And on the other one, a negative 5, which those do indeed add up to negative 10. So getting the structure down correctly, I know I need to lead in 5x and 5x, and I know I need to end in both minus 1s. And again, if ever you're wondering if you did it right, you just FOIL it out. 25x squared minus 5x on the outside, minus 5x on the inside, and my negative times my negative gives me my positive 1. and these combine for a minus 10x. So I'd have 25x squared minus 10x plus 1, exactly what the original polynomial was up here. All right, so that's all I'm going to do for you today. If you bring that in, you can get some extra credit for writing that down. You guys have a great night.